Oh, thank you very much for having me. That's it. And yeah, I suppose basically full disclosure, I am a real person. So even though we're going to be talking about deep fakes and synthetic media, one day I won't be real. That's it. And I do actually already have a digital avatar of myself, but he's not making an appearance today because of time. That's it. He's having a bit of a lie. Yeah, thank you very much. So anyway, thank you very much for the introduction. So welcome everyone. My name is Matthew Griffin. I'm the CEO and founder of the 311 Institute and the World Futures Forum. I'm a futurist and a strategic advisor, advising G7, G20 governments and most of the multinational organizations that you're actually using now. So with no further ado, this presentation is going to be about the future of deepfakes and synthetic media. So it's kind of top of mind for a whole variety of different reasons. Now, kind of consider this. Yeah, 8 hours, 32 minutes. Yeah, what does that really represent? Why should you care about that number? You should care about that number because according to local polls over in the US, that is the average amount of time that you all spend in front of a screen every day. It's kind of sad. Get out when you can. I mean, we are in COVID and pandemic time, so I suppose we've all got excuses. Now, from a creative industry perspective, over 235 million people are employed in the creative industry, and the creative industry globally brings in about $6 trillion. So that's about 6 to 7% of the world's economy is creative orientated. And I work with the vast majority of Hollywood studios and creators out there. So we have a front view seat. Now, consider this. The online world influences your behaviors and opinions. Now, why that's important is because I can manipulate and alter all of your realities by controlling just two things. The first is pixels. So if I can manipulate what you see, and if I can manipulate what you hear via online channels, I can shape your opinions, I can change your behaviors, I can polarize your views, I can kind of do all sorts of different things. I can also entertain you. Now, today, content creation is being democratized. So, for example, some of the things that I'm going to show you, if you step back about 7 years ago, for example, if we look at synthetic media and deepfakes, 7 years ago, an artificial intelligence would be able to produce a very small, very grey and grainy image of a person's face. Fast forward, and to do that, it would have set you back about $1.5 million. You'd need a team from Stanford or at NVIDIA. Fast forward to today, you can create high-resolution images of really anyone for pretty much nothing. So technology has this democratizing effect that over time makes things easier to do, cheaper to do, and also means you need fewer resources to do it. And when we have a look at deepfakes, for example, today you can just scan your face with a smartphone using something like the Zao app, and you can put yourself into a blockbuster movie. 6 or 7 years ago, that was science fiction. Now, when we talk about media, we talk about this kind of X to X philosophy. So increasingly, when we talk about synthetic media, I can take X, which could be text, audio, images, video, whatever it happens to be. I can run that through an artificial intelligence translator or a couple of different systems. There's lots of different ways to do this, but we'll sort of focus on AI for the moment. And I can spit out something else. So for example, I can do text to video. I can do video to virtual reality. So in video, basically, you've done the last one. And I'll show you some of these in action. So when we start talking about being able to create one type of synthetic content, invariably that then accelerates our ability to generate other types of synthetic content. So this is out of Stanford. This is an example of text to video. So, today we talk about talking heads and all these kinds of sort of synthetic constructs. But if you don't know how to use artificial intelligence, if you're rubbish at design, etc., I bet all of you can pick up a keyboard, just type what you want the video to be of, or to say, or the characters to do, and the artificial intelligence, in this case it's a general adversarial network, will go off and produce the videos. Now again, remember, these videos are small, they're grainy, 7 years ago, like images, you wouldn't think much of them. Fast forward 5 to 7 years, and these are already improving. And by about 2030, maybe a little bit before, 2027, 2030, text to video will be really quite good. It'll be high resolution and it'll be very capable. Now, getting on to the topic of deepfakes. Deepfakes are media that is manipulated by artificial intelligence. So generally it is some form of pre-existing media that has been altered, just as we sort of, we alter images with Photoshop, but in this case, it's dynamically altered by artificial intelligence that lets us do things.
Hey friends, what's up? My friend Matthew has invited us to watch the big game at their place. I hope I can make it. If I can't be there, enjoy the game. And don't forget to bring the snacks. Ciao.
Hey, thanks, Lionel. So we've got to have some celebrity appearances. So that was Lionel Messi. I texted him the other day. He really wanted to do a personalized invite for you all to come round and watch the big game at my place. And he also says, bring the snacks, which is fantastic. Thanks, Lionel. That's it. Maybe he can even come along as well.
What's
what
up,
about
TikTok?
Tom? Can we bring Tom in?
You guys cool if I play some sports?
I'm cool, Tom.
I love it. More for the audio experience.
Audio's a bit rubbish.
As much as the momentum.
Great swing.
Hey, listen up, sports and TikTok fans. If you like what you're seeing, just wait till what's coming next.
You know what I want to see, Tom? I want to see you falling over a desk. That's what I want to see.
That's fine.
Oh.
It's, Okay, TikTok.
What about impressions?
Impression time. This is a 5-second impression of a snapping turtle coming out of its shell.
Love impressions. Oh,
What's on my hair?
No, your hair's fine. Hair's fine. Absolutely fine. And later, Tom is going to be appearing and he's going to be selling you a cryptocurrency scam. That's it. Thanks, Tom. Now, so 2023 is kind of the date that you want to put into your diary because just like some of those things that you saw where there actually was a level of effort to creating some of those deepfakes, by 2023, deepfakes will pass, the majority of them will pass uncanny valley. So that's where you simply won't be able to tell that they're not real. That's when you are then going to be reliant on the big social media platforms to tag, this is fake, etc., etc. And then we enter into a cat and mouse game when we start looking at malinformation, disinformation, and misinformation, as we have seen throughout the pandemic. Speaking of which, when we do start talking about weaponizing information, deepfakes are literally weapons of mass disruption. So, how about this one? Ronaldo, I can't believe you just did that. Really?
Coca-Cola.
And do you know what you just watched there? That was real, actually. Could have been fake. How can you tell? However, in that instant there, if I'd been able to create a fake Ronaldo, which I could have because you saw my Tom Cruise, that 20-second clip that you watched wiped $4 billion off Coca-Cola's value and their market cap. So when we start talking about being able to weaponize some of these deep fakes and some of these types of new constructs, there's all sorts of ways I can tank your share price. Now, what about this one? I mean, if you've got sensitive ears, I encourage you to do this. Look away for about a minute to a minute and a half. But now imagine, basically, you can get anyone to say anything. Yeah, this is where we can really start bringing presidents into the mix to really start tanking company share prices or just sowing general discord around the population. So, take it away, Barrett.
We're entering an era in which our enemies can make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in time.
We are.
Even if they would never say those things. So, for instance, they could have me say things like, I don't know, Killmonger was right.
No, he wasn't.
Or Ben Carson is in the sunken place. Or, how about this, simply, President Trump is a total and complete dipshit.
You can't say
Now,
that.
you see, I would never say these things, at least not in a public address, but someone else would. Someone like Jordan Peele.
It's fake.
This is a dangerous time. Moving forward, we need to be more vigilant with what we trust from the internet. That's a time when we need to rely on trusted news sources. It may sound basic, but how we move forward in the age of information is going to be the difference between whether we survive or whether we become some kind of fucked up dystopia. Thank you, and stay woke, bitches.
Well, that's a little bit pessimistic, isn't it? So, jeepers, who thought Barack would say those things? Heaven's sake. Presidents these days. That's it. Go and retire. So, anyway, now we move on from deepfakes. So, deepfakes are a subset of synthetic media. Synthetic media is media or content that is exclusively generated by artificial intelligence. There are a couple of caveats to that, but again, because of time, we're going to keep it sort of a little bit high level. Now, do we think that artificial intelligence in time could create its own movie? But more than that, could it create a procedural movie? Now, what I mean by that, we've already seen procedural podcasts. I can watch you through the camera on your smart TV. I can watch you through your Wi-Fi. That's a great conversation for a privacy advocate. You put artificial intelligence into a Wi-Fi router, it turns it into a millimeter wave sonar device. That's a conversation for a whole other time. And I can gauge your behaviors, I can gauge your emotions as you're watching a movie. But because these AIs will start running from the cloud, if they see that you're getting bored about something like my presentation, which is just dull, why are you even watching it? They can start changing the content. You know, they could put in some explosions if they know that you like explosions and all sorts of things. So, big question. Will we be able to see an artificial intelligence anytime soon creating its own movie? Typically, the date's going to be about 2035 before we get a proper blockbuster. And this is sort of where, when we start looking at the development of synthetic media, we see lots and lots of researchers and labs and startups creating lots of individual types of synthetic content. So synthetic audio, synthetic characters, synthetic images and imagery, synthetic video, synthetic text, and synthetic worlds. Now, synthetic worlds you can kind of think of as immersive worlds, whether it's virtual reality worlds or whether it's kind of simulations, which are used basically in product development and all that sort of stuff. So that last one, by the way, transforms the $1.7 trillion research and development industry. But again, that's a conversation for another time, and you can look at my Future of Creativity and Innovation keynote. Look it up. It's not fake. Now, we already have machines that are starting to create a whole variety of different types of content. We've got AIs that are producing music. In fact, some of them are making decent enough music to be signed up by Warner Brothers and Sony. We have other AIs, basically from companies like NVIDIA, that are producing their own games. We've got other AIs, basically like AIs from Springer, that are actually writing their own books. And then we've got other AIs from the likes of OpenAI, which is a sort of Elon Musk, or was an Elon Musk-backed artificial intelligence outfit, which are actually producing their own procedural games and podcasts and text and all kinds of different things. So at the moment, we can produce a lot of different types of individual synthetic content, but it's not a movie. So this is the problem that artificial intelligence has when it's trying to create a movie. AI can create a synthetic deepfake human. And actually, when we start thinking about deepfakes, a lot of deepfakes start from the body, from the sort of shoulders up, because you just change the mouth. You know, you do a little bit of dubbing and everything else. But yeah, we actually have AIs that can do full-bodied deepfakes. I'll show you those in a moment. But from an AI perspective, an AI needs to create a digital person. That person needs to have a character and a motive in the movie. They've got to have a script. There's got to be a background. So the AI actually needs to be able to understand that that person goes in front of that background for that script, and that the explosion coming up the street towards this young lady obeys the laws of physics, and that fire basically will come towards us and not just go straight up in the air or straight into the ground. However, you know, if we're creating a movie, what type of movie should we create? Let's create a zombie movie. So now all of a sudden the artificial intelligence needs to understand what a zombie is, basically how they move, how they sound. The AI needs to understand that zombie might want to look at the woman in the movie. What's the plot line? It needs to know perspective because these zombies are in front of her, she's in front of the explosions. The AI also needs to understand what a street looks like, understand how to put buildings together. And as for soundtrack, it needs to understand the right kind of zombie soundtrack. So we need synthetic audio. Then we need to catch the time bomb. So we want to be able to sell this movie after all. Anyway, that's enough of zombies. They're getting on my nerves. Bye, zombies. Here is an artificial intelligence written script for a Lexus movie. So this is the script you can imagine for a future blockbuster movie. This is kind of the granddaddy of the text generator in 2028, 2029 that could write its own movies. Wow. The artificial intelligence wrote a script that saves the futuristic, self-driving, fully autonomous Lexus vehicle. Awesome. So that's an artificial intelligence, especially based on IBM Watson, and it writes scripts. So next, we need an artificial intelligence, a general adversarial network that can create full-body human likenesses. Now, the AI that you're seeing here is actually out of Japan, and it's actually already being used to replace fashion models because you can just morph these particular characters in any which way you like. You can get them to wear whatever you want. They can be tall, short, they can be thin, they can be fat, they can be any color. And so these are already gaining multi-million-dollar sponsorships. But as you can see, they're producing all kinds of just different body formats. And if you take these and then you put them in front of synthetic images and other synthetic video, which is the backdrop of your movie, you can kind of see how we're starting to compile a very basic movie.
Hi,
What about the
I'm
humans
Leon.
themselves? Give them a character. This is on Samsung.
Artificial human. It's a little bit different from an AI. I was computationally created based on how real humans look and behave. Every neon has a unique personality, emotion, and intelligence. I'll help you find your style. I'll let you know what's happening around you. I'll guide your journey. I'll help you find your inner peace. I'll be someone you'll share your idea with. My dream is to help humans become even more human than ever before.
Artificial intelligent humans helping humans become even more human. Actually, there is a precedent. We have AIs that are helping humans in call centers become more empathetic. Different conversation for a different time. So I've got my artificially intelligence generated script, my AI generated digital humans or digital characters, because we could also do lines and all sorts of other things. What about the backdrops, though? We need the backdrops. So this is the Unreal Engine 5 from Epic. And now you can start the bats.
This swarm of bats was created with our Niagara effects system. Particles in Niagara can now talk to one another and understand their environment like never before. We've also added a ton of new functionality to run fluid simulations like you see in the water below. demo runs on our chaos physics system. Here we are using it to accurately simulate the rigid bodies of the falling rocks and the cloth of her scarf.
Last bit, Mark.
Now that the environment is so complex, we've needed to greatly improve our animation systems to adapt. We've added predictive foot placement and motion warping, which dynamically modifies IK and body position to look more natural. For the character to more realistically interact with the environment, we've added the ability to trigger seamless contextual animation events, like her hand on the door.
Looks promising.
So you can see how we can combine all these different elements together, but you have to do it in a very careful way to create our movie. Now, and as for good, AI is just like you. If I asked you to create a good car advert, you'd look at all the adverts that were rated good and that won awards. That's exactly what these AIs do to figure out what good looks like. And then as for solutions, well, when we start talking about all of the nefarious purposes that we can use these for, as well as the good ones, basically we need to be educating people. We need policies from government, which really are lacking at the moment, regulations from government. And then from a technological perspective, we need the tools to detect these different systems. We need GRC platforms within different organizations. And we also need provenance. And when it comes to content provenance, we can use watermarking, basically at a hardware level. We can also use blockchain and other different types of technologies. And as for that, I'm out. Thank you very much for watching. And again, I am real. Thanks. Bye.